انا حين نبداو دوكا بلا سويد avec deux artistes اللي راهم جايين puisque عندنا اليوم سونيفا ابيلي donc elle joue d'un instrument qui est très très spécial donc اللي اسمه le nickel harpa et puis انا رايحين نهضروا aussi مع Kristine West donc qui joue de la flûte. Elles sont montées ensemble البارح على la scène تاع le théâtre national algérien. Elles ont offert au public donc une bonne heure donc de musique traditionnelle suédoise. donc اليوم انا رايحين نهضروا justement على الموسيقى التقليديه السويديه, على العلاقه ايضا اللي كاين بين الموسيقات التقليديه كامل, على واش كيفاش جوزوا هاد اليامات تاعهم في الجزائر, واش بقى لهم ايضا يجوزوا باسكو elles sont passées par des étapes très très intéressantes في هاد اليامات. donc voilà, من قبل هادشي بنرحبوا بهم. so welcome to JOWRADIO, welcome to Joe Sabah. we're really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
So yesterday was your first concert in Algeria. Yesterday was your a great night for the Algerian public. So how did it went for you?
It was really nice. We had a lovely audience and it was a really special, I don't know, time to be there up on stage and play the Swedish folk music for the public. Yeah.
Yes, it was fantastic. And we felt so welcome all the time, and also the audience seemed really concentrated.
Yeah.
So we felt the connection, even though there were so many, it felt like intimate.
Donc voilà, قال لك بلي حسوا بلي الجمهور كان فريمون مركز معهم, كان فريمون dans une ambiance très intimiste finalement, كان هنا باش يشارك معهم justement هاد l'ambiance qui était faite de musique traditionnelle suédoise. هي اول مره يلعبوا هنايا, دونك اول مره اللي جاوا يبريزونتيو الموسيقى تاعهم, الموسيقى التقليديه السويديه. mais en tout cas c'est très très bien passé pour elle. So you're here in Algeria since Saturday, I think.
Yes.
And you had a program that was pretty full.
Yes.
So what did you visit, what did you do in this last year, please?
We haven't yet do anything touristic, but we made a visit to a special organization. I think you know the name of it. I don't remember.
It's الموسيلية.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was so nice. We met the musicians there and they played music for us, and we were able to teach them some tunes and play for them. And we talked about the instruments, and I got to try some of them, the Algerian traditional instruments. It was so fun. The rebab.
Yes.
And the other one, the like lute form.
Yes.
I don't know.
العود. Yeah.
Not the. It was some. I don't know. More like softer strings.
Yeah. We have the lute is the oud for us. We have the mandolin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
No, there was another one, the Andalusian one, I think.
Which
no,
one?
it was like really Algerian stuff. I don't know. It has 4 strings, I think, but a really long neck.
Okay.
Yeah, and it looked like a lute, but it was not a lute.
It's a mandol.
No. No, it wasn't. I'm sure there was mandolin too.
No, it's a mandol.
It sounded like guitar, the name, but it wasn't, and they were really sure about that it wasn't guitar.
Okay, I think we'll verify this.
You will dig more into this later.
So, donc voilà, donc واش قالوا لنا c'est que voilà كانوا عندهم la chance باش يديروا دونك ان ماستر كلاس. دونك الماستر كلاس اللي كانت في الجمعيه الموسيليه تاع الموسيقى الاندلسيه. دونك تلاقاو دي ارتيست الجيريان, تلاقاو دي جونز ارتيست الجيريان, اي بي كانوا عندهم تانيك لوكازيون انه يديكوفريو دي انسترومون, دونك دي انسترومون الجيريان, منهم الرباب, منهم لا موندولين, منهم كل هذا الشيء. دونك فوالا سا لو بيرمي دو ديكوفرير شويه ايضا الموسيقى التقليديه. So you both do traditional Swedish music. That was the theme yesterday, but you have really different. You had really 2 different ways to arrive to it. So I want to hear like your first tips in music for each one of you.
Will you start?
Yeah, I can start. I grew up in the countryside of Sweden, and in my family, classical music was the thing. I grew up with my father listening a lot to Baroque music, like Vivaldi and Bach, like really Western classical music from the 18th century.
Okay.
And then I was so lucky to meet the folk music culture and coming in contact with it in the countryside where I grew up. And then I started to play with other young people in a band. And this band made me really like going into the social world of music, playing music together, and that was the thing. So that's why I started, and that's why I never stopped, I guess.
Okay, Sunniva?
Yeah, my family played folk music at home, especially my mom. She played the accordion and she sang and played violin. And for me, it was just normal. We sang and danced all the time, and it was just like all the projects were singing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
for
can't
me
remember
it was
the time when you started?
No, I don't remember. I know when I started to play the instruments, like fiddle at 8 and nyckelharpa at 10, but it was really just a natural thing. And I started to play at the musical, like the school after school, the musical school after school. So I went to take nyckelharpa lessons when I was 10. And I never stopped because it was so fun. I really love the instruments, that's why.
So voilà, donc Kristine كان عندها un parcours وين بدات بالموسيقى الكلاسيكيه، دونك وين تعلمت فينالمون كامل لي كومبوزيتور تاع لو 16e سيكل، دونك نهضروا على باك، على فيفالدي، على كل هذا الشيء. دونك مي موراها بالعقل elle a eu besoin finalement de jouer de la musique مع d'autres personnes. Donc elle vient d'une région de Suède où justement la musique traditionnelle راهي حاضره، donc c'est Rif si vous voulez, donc c'est pas elle est pas née dans une grande ville et donc découvert de la musique et elle a découvert la joie de finalement de jouer de la musique tous ensemble. Par contre لو كان نسمعوا من عند سونيفا كانت بدات جوستومون ديريكتومون بالموسيقى التقليديه، خاطر العائله تاعها كانت تلعب جوستومون الموسيقى التقليديه مع يماها مع لا فامي كامل. دونك قالت لك ما نقدرش نشفع على ان مومون وين كنت بديت الموسيقى، سادير زدت فيها كبرت فيها. مي اون توكا الانسترومون اللي راهي تلعبوا اليوم، اون توكا الانسترومون اللي بريزونتيتو البارح للبوبليك الجيريان هو دونك النيكلاربا، كانت بدايته في عمرها 10 سنين. So we're talking about the nyckelharpa. It's a really special instrument and I really want our listeners today to I really want you to introduce it to our listeners today.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a Swedish traditional instrument. It has been probably spread in Europe before, a long time ago, and then it died out for some reason. Maybe you have heard of the hurdy-gurdy, the instrument in France and in Germany. And it's probably connected, but that survived, but not the nyckelharpa. And like there was a tradition growing in north from Stockholm, so it's a very small area around Uppsala, Uppland, and there was a small tradition there. It was really closed by the society there was quite close because it was like from the mining culture and stuff. Yeah, the villagers were really like the Europeans working there, really close society, as I said, and they kept the tradition, and it was really small, and everybody else it just died out and it stayed there. So for some reason we don't know why.
Donc voilà, donc c'est un instrument اللي جاي من la période médiévale, donc il a très difficilement survécu parce que اليوم لو كان نهضروا على هذا الانسترومون il y a très peu de joueurs. قال لك la communauté اللي كانت شدت فيه سي كوميونيتي اللي راهي جايه في الشمال تاع ستوكهولم، donc العاصمه السويديه، mais c'était en général, c'est-à-dire une société campagnarde, une société de mineurs Aidan, donc c'était très relié لكل هذا الشيء. Et donc finalement c'est la société هذه اللي خلت هذا l'instrument il survit jusqu'à aujourd'hui. Donc how many nyckelharpa players there are in Sweden today? Is it
I have no idea, but we are quite many at this point. Yeah, when I was a child nobody heard of it, nobody know in Sweden, nobody. But then like 10 years ago it started to grow a lot. And now, like, people have heard of the instrument. They've even seen it sometimes and heard it.
It's the fact of the youth trying to reconnect to its tradition?
I think so. It's a part of that Kristine told you about. The folk music movement has grown in Sweden for the last maybe 30 years or maybe a bit more. And it has become something else than before. It's more contemporary and people are studying it in the academies and stuff. And lots of youth groups playing music. So the nyckelharpa is now spread also in the world. So there are associations in both America and in Japan and Germany, Italy, France, Belgium. I have even heard that there are nyckelharpas here in Africa, but I'm not sure where. I haven't heard the person, but
OK. Donc voilà, قالت لك donc le nombre تاع les joueurs de nyckelharpa, donc l'instrument اللي رايحين découvrir اليوم راهو غير يزيد بالعقل. قالت لك ça fait environ 20 à 30 ans ملي le nombre راهو يزيد parce que pendant très longtemps كانت la Suède déconnectée شويه من les traditions musicales تاعها، mais بالعقل راهم يعاودوا يوليو ليها. Donc grâce à cette jeunesse justement, mais maintenant c'est des instrumentistes qui se font l'ambassadeur تاع هاد الموسيقى un petit peu partout en Europe، في إيطاليا، في فرنسا، في حتى في اليابان. قالت لك بالك دونك كاين بعض العازفين تاع nyckelharpa هنايا في إفريقيا. Sinon I ask you Kristine, so what is the importance for you to play and to present Swedish traditional music, because you have a career in classical music, but you came to Algeria with traditional music. Why?
Yes, because I studied in the college, the Royal College in Stockholm. I studied only classical music. But I felt that since I grew up with the folk music, I have one identity in this culture, and I felt like half person without it. So after I finished my studies, I connected more to this music and started to making connections between those two worlds. And also I do some projects where I play both.
Okay.
But I feel also that this folk music is in my heart. So I want to play it because I feel so much for it. And to play it together with Sunniva, who's such a great musician, and it's just so fun. And so fantastic music. I want everyone to hear it. And also I feel like I have a voice playing the flute in this tradition, and it's my own. In a classical music world, you can be really your own, but it's easy also to be kind of standing in the line of people doing the same thing as you, and trying just to be the best of those.
It's always about the interpretation, but it's really not about creativity.
Not always. It can be, of course, but in the folk music I feel that I own my music, and I feel more free to do what I want. And I also try to make this connection that I can bring this feeling into the classical music. So for me, folk music is really important for my art history.
So donc voilà, donc قالت لنا باللي finalement كانت عندها des carrières في les deux genres de musique, كان des projets, des albums, des concerts في les deux genres de musique, من جهة في الموسيقى الكلاسيكية ومن جهة أيضا في الموسيقى كما قلنا donc la musique folklorique suédoise. Mais وفينا قالت لك كي نروح انايا باش نبريزونتي هذه الموسيقى للناس، انا على بالي باللي في الموسيقى الكلاسيكيه عندنا ان كادر سي اسي ستريكت، دونك ما كاش بزاف لا ليبرتي، ما كاش بزاف لا كرياتيفيتي، ما كاش بزاف لو طون اي بي لوكازيون باش نبريزونتيو الموسيقى اللي نحبوها حنايا ولا نديروها حنايا. مي جوستومون في لا ميوزيك تراديسيونيل سي توجور بوسيبل دو كومبوزي، سي توجور بوسيبل دانتربريتي، سي توجور بوسيبل دينوفي. دونك جوستومون دونك بالعقل الموسيقى هذه راهي تتطور. اي دونك زادت تلاقات سونيفا كي اون اكسيلونت انسترومونتيست، اي بي مع بعض جمعهم الحب تاع هاد الموسيقى. سي بور سا جاو للجزائر بكل هذا الشيء. So when you play traditional music like this, is it something you adapt? Is it something you replay as it is? How do you do?
Oh, I get quite inspired by old recordings and stuff, because in Sweden the tradition has not been as spread and as it might be here. I think we have, like, the folk music has not been so appreciated, I think. Maybe also because of the Second World War and the Swedish participation in that. I mean, not participating, but still it was a political thing, and after that the nationalism wasn't really a good thing in Sweden at all. And and the folk music unfortunately was used as a national symbol, a nationalism symbol, and people started to move away from folk culture in a way. But that changed also in the 70s when people wanted to come back to their roots and find like the people's music, you know. And from there it has grown again. So now it's big, but it's still a small culture, you could say, a subculture. And so we listen to recordings and we play together and try to interpret things. But I think we bring a lot of the modern stuff or our own soul into it.
Okay, so really, what is the part of innovation you can bring into traditional music?
I think also that we learn also from each other. So if you play together, you get a lot of impact from others to play with. So in this aspect, it's really social, because when someone plays, it will never sound exactly the same as someone else. So
exactly.
And for me, I have a lot of like classical education, and I bring it also, I think, because just of the technique and way of playing.
Yeah, and like phrasing and stuff. That's really nice to play with you, to be able to talk about the phrasing and more. And so in folk music it tends to be a bit shorter periods.
En fait, donc واش كانت تفهم لنا Sunniva, c'est que le problème c'est les références, donc la musique traditionnelle suédoise, parce que pendant très longtemps كيما قلنا من قبل la musique traditionnelle suédoise avait un petit peu disparu. كان الببليك سويدوا كان تخلى عليها علاقه مع voilà امور سياسيه، خاصه مور la deuxième guerre mondiale وين le nationalisme suédois c'était quelque chose qui était assez mal vu. Donc la musique traditionnelle était directement connectée لهذا الشيء في l'esprit des gens, en tout cas في l'esprit collectif. Mais ابتداء من لي زاني 70 ابتداء من السبعينات عاودوا ولاو كما قلنا باش شباب il s'intéresse لكل هذا الشيء دونك سي بوكو دو ريشيرش يسمعوا بزاف لي انريسترمون باش يجيبوا de l'inspiration mais كاين aussi de l'innovation ici يجيبوا لا توش تاعهم يجيبوا لا لام تاعهم فينالمون في كل هذا الشيء et puis Kristine puisque عندها un parcours classique elle راح تجيب finalement la technicité instrumentale تاعها في هذا الجار et c'est ce qui donne ce qu'on vient d'écouter هنايا but you seem really tired is it really heavy to hold
sorry it is heavy yeah it's not a good ergonomical instrument at all
okay
I'm struggling
donc قاعد لك ثقيل بزاف c'est vraiment un sacrifice
but it's worth it
mais ça le vaut bien mais so we know that this edition of the festival is totally dedicated to women. It's Music L. So I want to ask you, like I ask everybody that came to the show on this occasion. So what is the specificity of being a woman today in the music industry, in the music world, and in traditional music? Is there any difference between a woman, between being a woman and a man?
In Sweden today, I think actually no, it's no difference. We
not much at all.
Not much. No, we of course there is. We have projects in Sweden called Equality and Plurality on Stage, and of course there is maybe sometimes more difficult, but I think actually it's quite equal today. The difference actually we met. A Swedish ambassador here in Algeria, and he told us that the problem might be here that also we maybe have in Sweden actually that you can educate equally and you can get the same education as a man and a woman, but when you want to have children, it's not actually that easy anymore.
No, exactly.
And I think that being a freelance musician, as we are, Foley, it can be actually more difficult to be a woman because then
you don't have a production, a label behind you that is
exactly, and you will prioritize different than a man. I think.
Donc évidemment في la musique traditionnelle c'est vrai que quand on voit les académies etc يعني le nombre d'hommes et le nombre de femmes il est assez équivalent quand on voit un petit peu plus tard يعني même les concertistes il y en a autant mais وشنو بعد pour faire évoluer la carrière باش نروحوا بعيد في الموسيقى التقليديه قالت لك voilà كي كانوا قصروا مع l'ambassadeur de Suède هنايا في الجزائر وكان قال لهم c'est à peu près le même constat que ce soit في الجزائر ولا في la Suède et nous à un moment avec les envies de maternité avec les priorités bien la famille et la carrière etc on voit peu à peu donc le nombre de femmes finalement diminuer quand il s'agit de longues carrières so it's really difficult to do a longer career than a man in the traditional music.
I think it's possible absolutely and people do but I think it's much harder.
And it could be that during some years it's really harder when the children are small or so but we have a good system I think in Sweden with like daycare for children and so it works but still it can be more of a struggle to be a woman than a man.
Donc voilà, on قالت لك في la Suède donc il y a un système qui permet quand même au moment de poursuivre la carrière تاعهم خاطر l'État va prendre en charge donc l'éducation en tout cas la surveillance des enfants pendant la journée donc هادشي يخلي لهم شويه وقت فراغ لواش راهم حابين يديروا leur carrière musicale ou d'autres carrières ولكن نقدروا نديروا خير من هذا الشيء في المستقبل. So really thank you for being here with us. It was a wonderful time in your company and I hope you enjoyed it too and maybe a last word for you.
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to be here.
Yes, we will definitely come back to Algeria if we have the opportunity.
Yeah.
قالت لك voilà إذا عندنا une chance أنا حين نوليو للجزائر. Merci beaucoup voilà donc pour l'interview تاع اليوم.